Let me just remind you of my tips on how to edit your videos, how to produce and edit your videos. I think these 18 tips that I have will be very, very beneficial. And they are not arbitrary. They come from long years of experience of making documentaries. And I haven't seen a list like this in any book or any other place that you might look for. So I think these are very helpful. And I know I handed these out to you, but there's one correction or one addition I want to make. So here they are. First of all, before filming, while filming, and after filming, discuss with your producing partner how each of you envision the video to look and sound like before you begin the editing. In other words, be in communication with your partner on this, or partners. And be aware that I suggest you do it before, during, and after, because your thoughts about how to make the video may change, especially as you do your research and as you do your interviews and B-roll. Secondly, once you've finished with your interviews, review the interviews and make notes on what quotes you want to use from the interviews. What are the things that the person that you're interviewing has said that you know for sure you want to use? You're often looking for summary statements or statements that clarify a point or that are the most interesting statements. You know, it was the best day of my life, it was the worst day of my life, those sorts of things. And you probably will know that you're going to want to use those. And note where they are, either in your tape or in your computer if you've downloaded it into the computer. Write down an outline of how you envision the documentary. Something about the process of actually writing down an outline helps clarify what you want to do. And if you're not sure of how to do it in chronological order. What's the beginning, what's the past, what's the current, and what's the future. For example, let's just say you're talking about the abortion issue. Should the abortion laws be changed? Well, what's been the history of abortion up till now? I mean, you might want to go way back in time to the ancient days when there wasn't the kind of abortion capabilities that we have now. You may want to go to what was just happening 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 years ago when there were illegal abortions and what the ramifications of those were. What are the laws now? How are they working? How are they not working? And then look into the future. If they were changed, were to be changed, how should they be changed? And then you can start to look at, based on that outline, what your research should be, what your narration should be, and what your quotes are from the people you've interviewed. 3, then write your narration. After writing down an outline, write down your narration following the outline. Make sure that both producers or all the producers participate in writing it. Don't just let one person be the person who writes the narration. You all want to gain experience in writing the narration. And the narration is usually based on your research and your interviews. You use the narration to explain what your topic is, what the history of the topic is, what the future may be, and what's going on currently, and also to introduce the people that you're going to be showing in your interviews, and maybe summarize what they're saying as well in the narration. Then record the narration. Record it either directly into a computer or into a microphone that goes into a camera that has a mini DV tape, and choose one of you to do it, or both of you can do it. And then you can record the narration with the camera, as I said, or in the record booth in the basement of the library, or directly into the Apple computer using the Final Cut Express program. Now, what you want to have is all of your audio, at least for at this point in the editing, because you want to edit to the audio. You want to edit to the quotes that you're going to use in the interviews and your narration, and sometimes the B-roll audio. Depends on how effective that is and how important it is. That way you can start editing. And my suggestion, as I've made in the notes, is be a Nike person, just do it. Sometimes just plunging in and doing it gets you started on it and you learn how to do it, and that's the start of your video. If need be, one of you can start editing without the other. You don't need to have both people in there during the editing if you've done the outline together and the narration together, because you know what you want to have, okay? So don't wait necessarily for the other person to be available. Just get one of you in there starting to edit. You can always change the edits if you need to later. Typically the editing intercuts narration with quotes from the interviews. Sometimes there's B-roll audio also, but typically it's the narration with the interview quotes. And remember, you can have a little bit of space in there. It doesn't have to be wall-to-wall audio. You can have a little bit of space, especially if you have B-roll footage that you want to let roll by itself. You don't necessarily have to have narration over it if you don't want to, although it's often a good idea to. Most videos for this class will have a lot of back and forth between the narration and the interviewee's comments. And review the tutorial at apple.com to learn how to make edits in the timeline. Is anyone still unclear how to make an edit using Final Cut Express? You all know how to make an edit now, right? You know how to slide things around, move things around, okay? Once you get the narration and the interviews into a rough sequence, go back over the sequence several times to clean up loose edits, especially listening to the audio now. So in other words, you don't want to have narration and quotes slammed together so much that they actually interfere with one another. Have a little bit of space in there, but not too much space. It's very common at this point to have some of the edits start or stop too soon. Next, start to edit in your B-roll material. Audiences love good B-roll, and it can be very creative and very imaginative. And of course, good B-roll explains and supports what you're saying in your narration or what the interviewees have to say in their quotes. It's often a good idea to see the person whom you're interviewing for a few seconds and then cut to the video part of your B-roll while the audio part of the interviewee's answers are underneath the B-roll. Anyone not know how to do that by now from editing? You don't know yet? You kind of do.
Doing the second video is going to be review. You know, I'll look back. How do you?
Here's how you do it. Lay in, you've already done that if you're following my guideline here, lay in the quotes from the person you're interviewing, okay, or people you're interviewing. Get the people talking with their audio. So you have video and audio. That's why I suggest you take your narration and intercut it with the quotes that you want to use. Only after you have all that done do you want to start putting in the B-roll. And the reason is because B-roll is very flexible in length, but how long it takes for you to say something in narration and how long it takes an interviewee to say something in his or her response to you is fixed. You can't change the audio length, but you can often change the length of the B-roll. So a good way to do it is to have a few seconds of the person talking. If you're doing a little storyboard, here's the person you're interviewing. And in the timeline, it would look like this. You typically have V1, video 1, A1, and A2. That's because we typically record in stereo. So you might start with, first of all, you start with all of the quote. Let's say this is the quote from this person here who's speaking, with video and audio. Then to add in, and you would probably put a title in here of who the person is, you know, Joe Smith, farmer, whatever, okay? Then to lay B-roll video over this narration, so you don't see just Joe Smith the whole time, you isolate the video track, and somewhere after he's been speaking for a little bit, you then replace it with B-roll video only. And you don't affect the audio. You let the audio continue to run. So all you're doing is laying new video over this. You can do it through superimpose, or you cut the video into the timeline. It's relatively simple. Once you've done it once or twice, it'll be simple for you to do. And remember, you can always adjust where this point is. Just click on it, and then you can slide a little bit this way or slide a little bit that way if it's too long or too short.